Alright, I pushed the button and we should be live. Let me double check that we are live. It looks like stream health is green, which is it should be a good thing. And we are we live? Yes, we are live. Awesome. We are live. What is going on, guys? My name is Peter William, and welcome to this show, which has no name currently, but it is a part of a network, Nextlife network, and I'm really super excited to finally be on here and share with you the official first episode. I had streamed something yesterday, and that was basically like a test run, and I was kind of like figuring things out, and that's kind of like the feel for this entire project. I'm creating videos, I'm creating content and sharing cool things with you guys, but the idea is it's not really about the content at all. It's actually about the creative process that I'm going to be going through. And so I'm like really excited because I want to share with you guys the whole idea behind this project and why I'm doing it. And so once we do that, then I'll go into today's actual topics and get started with it. But I feel like it's really important to clarify like what this is first before like we actually get into the thick of it, because it's going to be a long process, and it's something that I need, personally in my life. I guess like I'm someone who really has committed to or wants to desires to is willing to commit to my dreams and what I truly want in my life, and I'm basically not letting anything I'm not letting any of my life situations dictate whether I can get there or not. So basically what I've done is created a project that allows me to commit a minor amount of time out of my life every day, every single day, in order to create something that is much, much bigger, and ultimately, hopefully, the goal would be for it to be something that does sustain me, where I can do this full time, and I can like share this inspiration with the world. So let's just get into like what this is. Okay, what is it? Let me explain. So it's so I'm gonna be what am I gonna be doing? I'm gonna be streaming live every day for the next year, and I say a year because who knows, maybe in a year I just won't like this anymore. Maybe I'll discover that this is something that I didn't really want to do, but I actually was I forget who it was. It was some blog post I was watching, and they were talking about how you don't really know if you like something or if something really works for you until you do it for a year. And so that's one of the reasons why I want to do this. Secondly, in order to really grow something in your life, in order to really get good at anything in your life, I know that you have to commit to it every single day. It just has to be a part of your natural routine, and once you do that, you can level up pretty damn quickly. And as you do that, and you discover things along the way. So that's like really what this is about. So let's just go through the guidelines real quick. I just kind of want to show you guys like what like how I'm approaching this, so that you get a better idea of what this is in the first place. All right, so let's move. So let's start with let's move this over. Okay, cool. So I have like 8 guidelines for this project. The first guideline is that I'm going to be creating, like I just said, creating daily videos. So that's 7 days a week of daily content, and I just kind of explain what the reason is for that. It is that sounds intense. I know that it's doable with the structure that I've created for these videos, but it is a challenge that is it's a big one. So but I'm excited for it. Secondly, I have to be honest, open, and authentic, or at least, well, that's the intention, is to be honest, open, and authentic, because I don't know if you've ever been in front of a camera, but it's intimidating. It's intimidating to be in front of people. It's just like, I think that the number one fear that any human being can agree that they have, or took a while to overcome, is the fear of being judged by others. The fear of, it's like, it's not always easy to share what you truly believe, or like what you think, or you know, especially if it's a lot different from the mainstream culture, you know. So that is really my intention, and because I'm going to be sharing a lot of information that does not follow like your standard quo, it's going to be important for me to just be real with you guys and like just be like totally open and honest, and be willing to like make mistakes and fuck up and say words just like that that aren't necessarily you know, whatever. I don't want to follow any rule, you know. I don't want any, like, I guess like I'm trying to reduce the social constrictions, if that makes sense. So cool. So that's 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Let's open that. We'll bring that one up. Okay, so keep it simple, think big. So this is I think this is just like a great guideline to follow in terms of any creative project that you're doing. Keep it simple, because like I know me, like I used to be a hardcore perfectionist. I still am working through those qualities. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of you that feel the same way. And for me, what I've discovered in my life with past creative projects is that I get nowhere when I'm like really trying to make it perfect. And when I get like crazy with it, you know, or like more so it's like when I try to make it super complicated, and when I'm trying to use all these different forms of technology, or like you know, I'm obviously using different forms of technology here, but it's like I feel like it's stuff that I've learned over a longer period of time, and there's actually a lot more capabilities that I can, you know, step into as I get more familiar with the process. But I'm gonna really focus on trying to keep it simple, and if anything feels like too much, you know, I might, and that's what I might discover as we go today. If it feels like it's too much, I'm probably gonna stop and like quit it, you know, and just keep it simple, keep it straight to the point. And along with keeping it simple, it's like the content that I'm sharing is going to be, I guess, like easily accessible for me. It's like I'm not. This isn't a scripted show. You know, this is me just sharing things on the spot, things that inspire me. So, and we'll get into more of these. Some of these guidelines kind of go over each other. So I'll get more into that. Think big, obviously, as well. It's like I'm gonna like. I want to be super open and honest with you guys as to what I'm thinking, like what my vision is, because the more that I share that with you, the more that I remember it for myself, and then it's like that's where I want to go, that's where I want to head. So basically, when I'm having a tough time, I'm going through a tough day, and then I still have to do a podcast. You know, it's like I can keep my eyes on the bigger picture, and then the smaller picture isn't as, you know, difficult or that much of a grind. I don't perceive that to be the case most of the time, but you know, sometimes you just feel like shit, and that's just like part of it. And if I'm doing it every day, I'm pretty aware that I'm gonna feel like shit for some of the days that I'm doing this. So I'm just being honest with where I'm at with that, or what will happen. 4, share content that inspires you. Kind of like I was kind of saying this before. Like, it's just like I was saying this in the show before this. I want this to feel like you're like hanging out with your friend, you know, in the living room, and just sharing interesting topics that you've been like learning or researching. And you know, I really think that well, I'm a huge promoter of learning and education, you know. And funny enough, like I spent so many years in educational institutions that I do not approve of. But I'm so pro learning, you know. I don't necessarily feel that. I feel like there's this kind of we've kind of lost touch with what learning really is and what education truly is. And so I'm seeking, one of my intentions is to find new ways that we can learn that are 1, free, 2, collaborative, and 3, like creative and engaging and, you know, useful and effective and resourceful, you know. So these are just some of my thoughts with this. Let's go to the next guideline, which is guidelines number 5 and 6. So adjust and improve the content every day. I think that's pretty standard. It's just like this is a creative process, and the more I do this, the better I'll get. And it'll just be, you know, a lot of this stuff that I'm doing, which is a little bit, I still have to like think and click, and you know, it's like it took me a little bit to get this all set up today, and you know, I was like, oh, I'm not even sure, like, is this the right content that I want to share, or like, you know, is this right, you know, there's all these questions there's a lot of things that I just don't know, and so like I'm just going to be constantly improving and presenting things in a much, I'm going to learn from how I present things and get better at it, and take feedback from you guys, and just continue to work on that. So that's my intention with that. Number 6, when in doubt, improvise. I personally myself do improv. If you're ever in Austin, you definitely need to come down to our improv group, the Austin Improv Connection. It's something that I started with a few friends 2 years ago, and it's grown into this really awesome, beautiful thing where it's just like people come together and just play for 2 hours every Wednesday and other days of the week as well. But so I improvise. I'm an improviser, and I've learned to take the concepts from improv into my life. And so if you haven't figured it out already, this is a very much an improvised show. And so I will be like, there will be times where I'm like doubting myself and I'm not sure. Like I know for a fact that there will be times where I'm like, oh God, what am I going to share today? What kind of content am I going to talk about today? And so like, that's where, the art of improvisation comes about. And it's just like, when you don't know, there's always something, it's like, there's always a way. You just have to be willing to let your brain, your mind, your heart take you there. And if you're open to kind of like going with the flow and not holding on to a particular agenda, it can take you to really cool, interesting places, and you can discover some really cool stuff. So that's kind of my perspective with that. Let's go to the last 2 guidelines. 7 is accept imperfections and expect mistakes. It's a big one, again, with being perfectionism. It's just like creating any sort of art, learning anything, getting better at anything. Like, you just have to accept that you're gonna fuck up. You're gonna fuck up a lot. It's like you're gonna suck. And if you can just like own the suck, that it's like if you can just like really just like be okay with like screwing up, and just falling on your ass a lot, and it's just like the more you can just like be totally cool with that, and like know that like it's gonna start off and be a bit chaotic at first, and it will get better as you go. Like, man, you can really get far with that. So I'm not seeking to be perfect here. I'm just seeking to do it. I just want to do it. I'm just going to do it. So that's the goal. And I will make mistakes along the way. And so, yeah, that's that. And the last one, 8, collaborate with inspiring people. This is really like a big part of the vision, which is I want to collaborate with people. I want to create a network. I want to form a network of people who are ready to express themselves and really like share their voice, because I think that I think it's kind of like, I just know there's a lot of people out there like me that kind of are ready to share some things that will have an impact on our society at large, that will impact social norms, that will impact like how we perceive the world around us. I think there's a lot of people out there like that, and I think there's a lot of amazing creative individuals as well that are doing really cool things through their artistic endeavors. And so, like, really, this is going to be very much a creative channel, and I really do seek to have other individuals who want to do, different type of podcasts or different type of shows or create different type of content. We're going to be doing produced content as well that will be playing on the stream as well. So it's not just going to be like live streaming. There will be produced content as well, and obviously that will come in time. But so I'm really excited for that. So like, this is a very much a collaborative project, and it really excites me to be able to say that, because like that's just what it's all about in the end. Life is a collaboration, and so is this project. So anyways, those are the guidelines, and thanks you guys for listening to that. We are now going to move into our topics for today, and man, it's like, okay, now this is the meat of it. Like, now we're going to do this. Okay, cool. Let's rock this out. So It's interesting because as I was like putting kind of the final touches of like, I was doing some brainstorming this morning, and I was like, what do I really want to talk about? And just to give you like a heads up, like this is an improvised show. So basically, I don't spend much time. It's like I don't script anything out. I really just think about what has been inspiring me lately and what do I want to talk about. And that's really like kind of the format. So like I was, yesterday and this morning, I was like, what has been inspiring me lately and what do I want to talk about? And one thing that has been really on my mind and has been inspiring to me is the show Black Mirror. So I don't know if you guys have seen this before. It's actually, I believe the show started in 2011, and I think it's still running. I just finished the first season, which is only 3 episodes, and I'm just started on the second season. But it's really fascinating to me because it shows basically, it depicts a world in which we're in this dark these dark times of the future where there's all this futuristic technology and it's impacting us in very negative ways. So it's kind of a dark show. However, the way that they approach the scenarios, the way that they depict the technology, and really it's very, very specific and well thought out. It's very, very interesting and intriguing, and it's really brought to me, it's inspired a lot of thought, and inner discussion as well. So I'm just going to show you guys. Let's see. I'm going to show you guys. Here is. Hopefully this plays. Yes. Okay. Cool. So here is just a video from. This is, I believe, the 2nd episode of the 1st season, and basically, as you can see, there's this guy. He's living in a box. It's a box that all 4 walls have TV screens on them, and he is woken up by the screens, and like he gets up and basically this wall is kind of interacting with him. He has his own kind of like what's the word? He has his own kind of, I don't know, persona, and it's kind of like, basically the whole idea is like this, his life is like a game, and he gains points for doing particular tasks, like for instance, like he's about to like brush his teeth, and he's gonna get points for brushing his teeth. So basically his whole life has been gamified. He's literally like living in this video game. You can see like he has like money is like he gains like his money or these points, as he does his daily things, and basically he can use that money to buy different material things. And so basically this whole, okay, and here we go too, you can see he's like, there's this like highly sexualized content that's just like in his face constantly, like it's just like there, and he loses points, he loses money for actually pausing the video or declining the video content. So it's like he gets penalized for not watching particular content. And it's really interesting. So basically, like, it's this world where you literally cannot turn off media, where media is just constant and nonstop. And it's like it's basically like he has all of his senses are occupied, like his visual senses are occupied. He just put some of these things in his ears where he's listening to this music, and these it's just like he's listening to things all day. And anyways, you get the idea. It's a weird world. It's basically like a world it's creepy because it's like, well, this isn't too far from where we could be in the future. And isn't that kind of scary? That is so weird, It's like, it's very odd. And ultimately what it is, it's like ultimately it's a prison. And they've imprisoned themselves within technology. So, basically, I feel like there's a lot of individuals that are really afraid about technology and where it's taking us. I think, I would agree that there are some definite negative downsides to technology. technology, as much as it connects us, for instance, like Facebook, as much as it connects us, there is a sense of disconnect. It's like, and this is the conversation that, we've been having for a long time now. It's just like, we know this. It's just like technology connects us as much as it disconnects us, and that's just the weird conundrum. And, for me, I like, as much as I think that like there are negative consequences to technology, there really are. I actually don't feel like the future has to be this way. I don't think it will look this way, and I don't think that technology is going to be something that like destroys the human race, or more so, I guess, like, I don't think it's something that will ultimately like devastate us, our lives. I think it will. It definitely may or will for some individuals who choose to go down this particular route. However, I think there's a way to get over it. And I think where I was really going with this is that, like, basically, I think that, like, it's like, okay, so it's like we can utilize technology in different ways. Like, we can utilize technology in a lot of different ways, and really it's just like how we use technology. Like, okay, so I think what I'm trying to get at, and I think I'm like going in a circle, but what I'm really trying to get at is just like, basically, technology can be useful, and basically we can use technology to our advantage. And this is where I wanted to go with. Sorry guys, I'm like I lost my train of thought for 1 second. But basically, what I have virtual reality goggles. I got them about, a couple months ago. It's the Vive VR goggles. And when I first started wearing those, trying those on, I was like so fascinated. And I was fascinated because it feels so damn real, like when you put them on, you literally like are looking around and you're like, this isn't any different from like my normal reality. Like, yeah, it's like there's like, I can kind of tell that I'm in this virtual environment because the graphics like aren't perfect, but like if I woke up and I was kind of groggy in the morning and like I didn't know I had VR goggles on, like I would probably believe it. And it's like really not too much different than being in a dreamlike state. And so it's like, So as I like started thinking about that, the more I thought about that, I'm like, wow, this is really interesting, because we're literally getting to a place where we can reverse engineer our lives, where we're getting to a point where we're like reverse engineering how we perceive the world around us. And we're doing that in a very material way. We're using things that we created that were outside of us, and like we're getting to a point where they can mimic almost exactly what our experience is like. At least we have the visual. We're working on different sensory aspects right now. VR is like getting very close to the visual experience. Like, I agree, it's just like the visual experience is pretty close. Soon we'll have the auditory experience, and then we'll have like the kinesthetic, different kinesthetic experiences. Then we'll have the taste experience. We'll have a lot of these different senses, and once we figure out all of the senses, at that point it's just like, well, what's the difference between me and my human experience, and then like this technology and the technological experience, and like, are we the same thing at that point? And it's interesting because I really feel like in the end, like, what is it that we're really, I guess like there's something that's so different about like me as a human compared to like a robot. There's something that we're so different in so many ways. We're very different things. Yet there's a way in which we relate that is so similar. There's something that like at its core that is like very much like works together, and it's just like that we can relate with on a very deep level with. And what is that? And my answer to that is, that's information. It's information. Like, computer, it is made up of computer software, is made up of zeros and ones, like our DNA is made up of similar types of information, except we just don't call it zeros and ones, and like, so it's like we both have, like, we have this genetic information, and then there's this other, it's like, and then computers have a different type of information, but it's still information. We are literally encoded. My body was encoded through like a genetic coding process. It's like I was programmed, and through that programming I became something, and that's really weird. It's weird to think of that, but it's really cool in the same sense that that's it. So basically, through a specific organization of information, through this organization of information, I came to being, and I have this very like I'm having this human experience, and like I can go outside and I can experience this natural world, which is also created through these specific processes that are very much coded in their own right, and there are very specific patterns that they fall in many different ways, and we're learning as we as science and technology improves, we're understanding more of what that is and how that really works. And so basically, like, the difference between me and a robot is that our information is just organized differently. So I'm actually not that different from a robot, but at the same time, I'm completely different from a robot. I'm a completely different thing, So it's weird. So this is where I get back to technology. It's just like, there's that argument where it's just like, well, it's like, are we drifting away from the natural world? Like, I love being outside in nature. It really inspires me, to uplifts me. Like, I just feel like I have such a strong connection to Earth. Earth is important to me. Like, I just like when I went to Peru, I felt like so, like, the people there were so connected with the environment, and like that it was a big part of who they were, what their culture was. It's like it was this like self-sustaining like feel. It was something that was really cool and beautiful. And then there's like this artificial side of things, like this robotic side of things that, feels, I guess it feels a little bit colder at times. It feels way more efficient. It can be super effective. It can be super useful. But there's like that feeling where like it's just not quite real. There's something that just isn't quite there. It's like, what is this? Something I can't quite understand what it is, but like it's not quite there. And this is my main point here. And my main point here is that, like, I think the reason for that is that if you look at a natural process like the Earth, think of how it's like if the Earth was formed, and if it was formed in a similar kind of like encoding process, it was coded in a similar way in which all trees, nature, humans were coded. If that is true, well, I think that it was encoded in a way that is where it was sustaining. It was self-sustainable, and where everything that grew from it, the processes that developed from it were sustainable, and they supported each other and allowed each other to thrive. So I think there was this kind of like overall kind of like, I guess I want to say intent, or at least the underlying system behind all the growth was an intent to thrive and work together and be in unity, and know that there is this interconnectedness, and that it's all of it's necessary, and it all needs to work together in order to survive. Now, when we look at man-made technology, I think that a lot of the times we feel that disconnect, and we feel that things are artificial because the systems aren't developed from that particular intention. Or at least maybe we just haven't reached a point in terms of our technological abilities, where we can create a system that is so intelligent that it is self-sustaining, and it is designed to support and thrive. And it's interesting too, because there's a lot of things that like come to my mind with this too, because like it's like we're human beings and like we're at the top of the food chain, you know. Like Earth, like there's a death and rebirth process, and like it's not. I guess like you could say that not everything is necessarily fair, and it's not necessarily like. I guess like I don't know. It's like can all animals like and plants live together in harmony without like killing each other? Like I don't know. I'm not sure. You know. So it's just like maybe even it's like maybe even like that process. Maybe there is. I don't know. It's like is there such thing as like a utopia? I don't know. I'm not sure. But like I think that we really wish that like technology. Like we criticize technology a lot because like we fear it's going to lead to this dystopia, and that like we strive for a utopia, but it will lead to a dystopia, and like it will lead to all this separation, and it will lead to like a lot of things that aren't very good. But really, I feel that like I guess like what I'm saying is that like I think that technology can get to a place where like we are intelligent enough and we have the right intentions to use it in a way that is self-sustaining, that allows us to thrive and allows us to work with the systems that are already in place here on Earth. Because if we're going to live on Earth, we better create systems that are immersed within it or are connected with it. Because I don't think that it just doesn't seem like it's like if we're going to live on Earth, it doesn't seem like a good idea to like create counterintuitive systems. Does that make sense? You know, I don't know if that's making sense, and I may be going in a lot of different crazy directions, but it's kind of my thought. So basically basically Black Mirror I think is a really interesting show. I think it shows some very like awesome ideas, and like they're very dark in their own sense, and it's, you know, it's like but they bring up really good points and things that we need to be aware of, things that we need to talk about, and yeah, really discussions that need to be had, but in the end it's like I just don't feel like it needs to go that direction, and I think that we as a human race, I think we're smart enough, and I think that there's enough of us who do have the right intentions and do think more about the whole than just themselves. You know, I think that there's more people who are not just I guess like who are not there are enough like selfless people and people who want the world to thrive. You know, I think there's more of those people than there are the latter, or on the opposite end of that spectrum. So I think that's where my main points are with that. So yeah, that's Black Mirror, and awesome. So yeah, if you guys have any thoughts about that, I'd just love to hear that, and I totally recommend seeing that show. It's on Netflix right now, so if you want to, you can definitely see it there. And I'm not sure. I think you can find some free ones. Some people downloaded some on YouTube, I think, as well. So feel free to check that out. Cool. So let's go into our next topic. Hopefully I'm not like rambling too much, but I think I'm like, again, this is a process where I'm learning, you know, I'm like figuring this stuff out. So I think that as I go, I will figure out these ramblings and be more straight to the point. But so far so good. So all right, so let's talk about our next topic, and that is neuro-semantics. So Neuro-Semantics is something that I've been really studying as of recently. It's something that I've really been kind of like dying to share on like some sort of video channel, and I'm really glad that I finally have that. Neuro-Semantics actually stems from neuro-linguistic programming. Excuse me. I had tacos this morning and they were really good. Okay. So you may have heard of it, neuro-linguistic programming. It's called NLP for short. Just to give you a quick connection, if you've ever been to like a Tony Robbins seminar, he uses a lot of NLP. Ultimately, what NLP is a self-development tool, and it helps us to understand how we represent and ultimately how we model our reality, how we perceive the world around us. I'll just start with like a basic example of how we kind of model our reality. So I think the first way to start is by showing you guys this this little diagram here. So basically, this is a model of neuro-semantics, but neuro-semantics is includes NLP. So, all right, a lot of stuff that you probably don't know what's going on here. Let me just kind of like break this down. Basically, our reality. We think that you might think initially that you have an experience, and then you have a memory of that experience, and that's it. It's like that's your life. That's might be what you think about that, but actually, what happens? There's actually a lot more to it than that, and interestingly enough, the actual experience that we have, the quote unquote, like when it's like when I pick up my phone and text and have that experience, that's an experience, but then I have a representation of that experience. I remember that experience, it's my memory. But then it goes further than that. Because right after I have a memory of that experience, then I can actually edit that experience in my brain. Just like you can edit a video, like on a video editing software, I can edit a video. I can add in different types of music. I could maybe change the perspective from first person to third person. Maybe I could even like change the contrast of the video. I could make it look a little darker. I could make it look a little lighter. I could there's a lot of things that I could add to it. I could change the words that are being said. I could change what, like, maybe I'm talking to someone, I'm having a memory of someone I talked to. Maybe I can change what their face looks like. All these things can happen in your brain. So the experience that you initially had, like I said, texting, I could go for, it could be, I guess like I could go from texting. That's not a really good example, but basically you can have an experience and you can edit that experience to a point where it becomes something so different than what the actual experience was in the first place that it's like crazy. It's crazy different, and so basically your experience of your reality is based off of something that you had ultimately edited and created for yourself. You put your own filter on it. Just like you do your Instagram filter, take a picture of yourself and put a filter on it. It's not really you. It is you. But it's not really you because like you added a filter to it and you changed it up and you maybe like removed your acne a little bit, or like I don't know, you like made yourself look really nice. Whatever that is, it's just like you edited it and it changed, and it's not really the true experience. So, to run through this, basically, like there is a process for how we perceive our reality, and so I already explained like 3 layers. It's like the first layer is the actual experience. The second layer is your memory of that experience. The third layer is how you cinematically produce that or edit that experience. The next layer is how you place a linguistic meaning on that experience. So what do you label that experience as? What do you call that experience? Then it's like there's emotions that you associate. What emotions do you put on that experience? Was it scary? Was it happy? Was it joyous? Was it loving? Was it sad? What was that? And then there's other forms of meaning that you can add to these experiences. There's an intention behind the experience. There's a metaphorical representation of that experience, and then so all these different like layers of like just this one experience, all these different layers make up your actual reality, the what you're actually experiencing, your perception. That's it. So knowing that there's all these different layers, I'm gonna take this down because it's a little distracting here, but like knowing that there's all these layers, that build up and create your reality, knowing that, you start to realize really quickly that your reality has really nothing to do with what you're actually experiencing outside of yourself, and much more with what has to do with what's going on inside of you. And the more that you can be conscious of what's going on inside of you and how you're framing, how you're representing your reality, the meanings that you place on your reality, the more that you do that, the more you come to the realization that shit, I actually have a lot more control over my reality. I don't have control about what's happening to me, my outside experiences, these circumstances, but I do have full control of how I can respond to these circumstances. And Neuro-Semantics is essentially the process of really understanding that on an NLP perspective, but going further and saying you can have experiences in your life. You can go about your daily life and you can actually reference particular states of being that you would prefer to have. So for instance, like, you can go to school, you can go to class, and you can choose not to be conscious of of what state you want to be in, of how you want to feel. You can do that, and you might have like mixed experiences. You might go into class feeling a little tired and sad, and you might leave feeling worse, or you might just leave tired and sad, or maybe one day you feel happy and you leave happy, or like I don't know. It's like you can go in with these different experiences and leave with different experiences, and that's great, But when it comes to as you move forward in life and you're like, hey, I want to be more consistent. I want to create things. I want to do this project. Like, I want to be a better person. I want to be able to conquer my fears. Like, I want to fucking live my life. When you get to that place, and you run into conflicts whereas like your emotions just aren't there. Where it's just like, and for me, I would like starting a business, for instance. It always scared me because I'm like, I could never be that consistent to run a business, how could I do this every day? How could I it's like some days I just feel so crappy, some days I just feel depressed. Some days I feel, I don't know, I don't always feel that way, but sometimes I do, and there would be periods of time, like especially when I was in college, where like there would be like 3 week periods of time where I would just be depressed and I didn't know what to do about it, and I didn't know how to get out of it. And so basically, what I'm getting at with this is that, like, there is a new form of psychology, and I probably should have said that right off the bat. Neuro-Semantics is a form of psychology that allows you to tap into experiences that you want to have, tap into emotions that are very resourceful and useful for you, and to essentially bring those filters to your daily life. So that you can essentially, when you go to class, or when you are doing working on a daily basis, or you're performing in a band or in a concert, whatever you're doing, you're just out with friends, you can reference a state that you would like to be in, such as joy or love or passion or excitement or fun. You can reference something that you really truly would want, and you can live out through that filter, rather than be stuck and limited by these kind of unconscious filters that are there and may have been there due to past experiences or past circumstances. That takes us back to NLP, because NLP is really how do we construct how is our reality constructed in the first place? It breeds that question. Let me give you guys an example. Some of you may be afraid of blood, or syringes in general. And that might have been because when you were 1 year old or something like that, you went to the doctor and you might have had just a bad experience. It might have been just that simple, that it just didn't turn out the way it was supposed to. Maybe your parents had to hold you down, and you felt kind of you might have just felt so overwhelmed, or you might have just been feeling these emotions and you didn't know how to process those emotions. And so our brain is this well, it's specifically designed. We have like for survival, and so like we have this flight or flight response, and when the flight or flight response is activated, the emotions that we're experiencing are automatically numbed. We were put in this hypnotic state where we're no longer able to like access those things, and we no longer remember them, and like they just go away. But they don't go away forever, they're stored back in our brain. And so so basically you can imagine you had this experience with your doctor, you just created a representation, you just created, for that experience, you created meaning. Like when I go to doctor, I'm going to be overwhelmed, I'm going to be scared, like it's like that's your association, just kind of like a Pavlov experiment. And it's like that's like the association there. And so basically, as you go about your life, like 20 years later, you go to give blood, and suddenly you're like, oh shit, no, don't do that, no, get away from me, and suddenly all these emotions that you're like, where are these coming from? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I so scared right now? Like why am I like immediately in this fight or flight response? Well, it's because like you have been programmed to to represent this particular state during this particular time, and it's interesting. So that's something that can be reprogrammed. That can be, and the word programming is weird, I know, because it's like, well, we're not computers, but well, our brains do kind of operate like computers in their own sense, and it makes sense that we as humans created computers, because I think they're really kind of like a natural representation of what's going on inside of us anyway. So that's kind of interesting within itself. So ultimately, yeah, so this is kind of like, so Neuro-Semantics was created by a guy named Michael Hall. If this is something you're interested in, I would totally recommend you checking out this book, Winning the Inner Game, Mastering the Inner Game for Peak Performance. Basically, this is a really good primer for Neuro-Semantics if you're interested in this type of thing. It's really simple, but it's very complex in the same sense. And I was kind of like, I guess there's a part of me that was like, am I going to explain it right? And I feel like I gave a decent explanation about it, but I think it could be better, and like, he does a really good job of like laying it out for you. And so basically, like before we end talking about this, like I wanted to really kind of like go through, let's just be a little bit more active in this process, and instead of just like taking in content, let's actually experience the content. So this is Michael Hall's second book, or not his second book. This is it's called The Source Book of Magic, and basically these are a lot of the NLP neuro-semantic patterns that he has. So it's basically just kind of like you can really just look through it and be like, what do I want to kind of work on today? You can work on. It's just like there's different type of patterns for different things, and like if you're experiencing some obstacle or problem, like you can look through this book and be like, oh, okay, let's try this pattern and see what happens. Like here's like a loving yourself pattern, or making peace with your parents pattern. They have like very specific patterns, and they're very effective, very interesting. So I'm gonna just give you guys an example of this right now. So I'm gonna read through this pattern with you guys. It's not gonna take long at all. This is actually This is a pattern that is really easy to do. You can do it during your daily life, and I try to do it like every day. I really try to. I think it's something that's super useful, and it's very simple. So the pattern it works like, I'm gonna just read out this first part. So the first step is to access a memory. So let's say that you're first of all, I just want you to like connect to like an obstacle in your life right now. What's something that's been bothering you, like an obstacle in life, something that's been stressing you out, And once you connect with that, now I want you to connect with like a time that you like, I'm going to read this, where you thought and felt, talked, or behaved in such a way that you felt blank as a resource. So what's a time when you felt really great? Like, you're having this obstacle. What would you rather? How would you rather feel? Maybe you're feeling. For me, it's just like when I do perform improv, sometimes I feel very unconfident, you know, and that's like pretty common. But like, so like I would choose to feel confident. I would love to feel confident. I would love to feel like playful, you know. I'd love to feel like joyous. But like, pick one, you know, just pick one like feeling. Maybe I'm gonna choose playful. So the word is playful, and so now as you so I know I'm going to access a memory where you really felt playful. Where was a time where you felt super playful? And I'll read this off for you guys. So as you access that memory right now, simply see what you saw, hear what you heard, taste what occurred in an experience, and feel what you felt. Allow yourself to go back there fully and completely until you have entered that experience. So as you do that, as you're really connecting with that memory, how is that? How does that feel for you? You know, does that feel good? Is that you know, is that inspiring to you? Like what is it feeling like as you're like really like remembering what you saw, what you heard? You know, it's just like I'm remembering a time where like I was doing rap improv with my friends, and I was just really enjoying. We had like our microphones. We were just really having like a really fun time, just playing around and being silly, and like it was really a great time. And I felt like really playful, and I felt like I didn't really have to like care about if I was doing anything right or wrong. It was just a really fun time. So that's the first. So we access that. Now let's access our imagination. So what would it be like if you could access that memory or that resource, that experience? What would it be like if you could access that on the spot? You know, what if you could access that? What would that be like? You know, what would things look like? What would they sound like? What would they feel like for you if you fully and completely stepped into that resource? Just imagine it fully, pretend to your heart's content, and allow yourself to experience it. So how's that? You know, how does that feel for you? Do you like that? And what could make that even better? You know, how could you heighten that feeling? You know, how could you make it even stronger? You know, how could it, you know, it could be even more. For me, it's like, how could I make it even more playful? You know, like in my mind's eye, because we're creating right now. You know, we're creating ultimately recreating this experience for us. We're creating the reality within ourselves. So how can I make it more so? You know, So now that we've built up on this, now let's go back to the obstacle that we kind of connected with earlier, the obstacle, the problem, the stressor that we connected with earlier, and now let's take the memory, the positive experience that we just connected with, and layer that over it. So take that emotion or that feeling, that experience that you had that's really positive, that what you would want, and place that memory over the memory that, you know, the memory of like this current situation that might be bothering you, and see how that feels for yourself. You know, for me, it starts to dissolve the experience a little bit. It starts to change things for me. It's just like it's not a big deal as much anymore. You know, you might that's pretty common to feel like it's just not really a big deal anymore. Or wow, like I feel pretty playful, or like, oh, I actually feel. It's weird because although I know that this was not a great experience, I actually don't feel that way. I feel okay about it. I feel great about it. I feel whatever I was just feeling before about it. And that's the whole concept. So Neuro-Semantics is about, it's called metastating. And basically, metastating is when you take an experience, such as maybe an emotion that you're feeling that might be negative in some way. So it might be, and when I say negative, I don't mean it's bad, but maybe it's something that you'd rather not have, such as anger. And then you take another experience or emotion and you place it over that emotion. So you metastate it. That's metastating. And so you're layering one on top of the other. And so let's say that the second emotion is joy. You have anger, joy. When you do that and you place them over each other, suddenly you become joyfully angry. Yeah, you're joyfully angry. So what is it like to be joyfully angry? It's actually a pretty positive experience. You're actually ultimately joyful. You're not actually angry. You're actually joyful. And is it okay to be angry? Hell yeah, it's okay to be angry. Like, it's just like we're humans. Like, we're supposed to express these parts of ourselves, and like to deny that to deny anger, to like repress anger, is the worst thing you can do in my instance. So this isn't about denying our reality. It's about accepting our reality. It's about like knowing that like this is real and true, and like hell yeah, we should do that. So absolutely. So yeah, that's Neuro-Semantics, and yes. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. You know, it's interesting. Like, if you have more questions or information about that, check it out. Like I said, here's the 2 books if you want to check those out. Both by, both by Michael Hall. Really cool stuff. Definitely worth checking out. And I will definitely bring these concepts up in the future. It's like, I brought it up just as a general understanding of it, but like we're gonna be going into different aspects of neurosemantics because it is absolutely fascinating to me, and it is the future of psychology. Right now they see it as a pseudoscience, but it is the future of psychology. I guarantee you that. So, okay, so this last part here, energy of numbers. Okay, we're already 55 minutes in. And I think that what I'm going to do is start on this topic tomorrow. I don't want to make these podcasts super long. And so I think that I'm going to learn as I go to like be more aware of my time. So that's kind of like something I'm going to work on next time. And maybe it's a cool thing to talk about, like what I want to work about next time. Maybe you guys can also share on what would you like to see next time, or like so maybe share some interesting topics that you have for me, or like interesting ideas, or maybe like we can start discussions about these different things that I shared. But yeah, I think for tomorrow I'm going to talk about the energy of numbers and how these all fit in. But I think this is like a really, really awesome and fun experience. I just want to thank everyone for that a lot of my friends and family who've been so supportive of me starting this thing, and like it just means so much to me. It means if you've watched this long, I'm so grateful, and so like I don't know, it's just like it means so much to me, and like it's really my intention to make this content better and more awesome and useful, and I hope that you gain some perspective that you maybe didn't have before, and you also share it too. I want to hear. It's just like I'm really all about like the things that I share, like. They could be real, they could be not. It's just like I just believe that there's truth has so many different sides to it, and like the best way to really understand what your truth is to talk about it. And when two like perspectives come together, they create a new perspective. And I think our ideas are always like having sex with each other and creating new ideas from them. So like the best thing we can do is collaborate in terms of using our minds and our hearts, and do it in a positive way, and do it with the intention of really like making really cool things that like help the world and make this world a better place. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. That's my intention, and yeah. So anyways, thank you guys again for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow, and I'll be bringing some new topics along. But you guys have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you tomorrow, like I just already said. All right, peace out, my friends. Love you all.